LWO1 WeatherNet. Liftoff conditions looking pretty good.
ESTS is ready for launch.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Ten, 9, 8,
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. It's Friday, October 2nd, and on your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 awaiting its 9:43 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. Welcome to our webcast coverage for GPS-3 Space Vehicle 4 for the Space Force. The U.S. Space Force satellites provide mission-critical global access, persistence, and awareness for our national security and have become vital to our global community and world economy. The Global Positioning System, or GPS payload, is one that you're probably familiar with. It will provide a diverse range of navigation and timing services for both civil and military purposes. Today's payload will join 31 operational GPS satellites already on orbit and will help serve over 4 billion users worldwide. Let's take a closer look at the vehicle that will launch the GPS-3 satellite. Now on your screen is a view of Space Launch Complex 40 with Falcon 9, which is our two-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle, getting ready for launch. Falcon 9 stands approximately 229 feet or 70 meters tall, which is slightly taller than a 21-story building. That bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is a brand new first stage, and its job is to accelerate the vehicle all the way to the edge of space, where it will drop off the second stage carrying the payload. Tonight we will be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship Just Read the Instructions Tonight, which is currently about 350 nautical miles northeast of our launch site, and you can see that on your screen. What's really exciting is that this specific booster is planned to support the GPS-3-5 mission next year, which will be the first time the U.S. Space Force has agreed to fly a flight-proven booster. So we're all really excited about that. About 2.5 minutes into flight, the first and second stage will separate, and the second stage will ignite its Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine to carry the GPS satellite to a highly elliptical orbit. Separation from second stage will occur approximately 20,000 kilometers above Earth, and then the satellite will perform burns to raise its position to enter a circular MEO, or medium Earth orbit, and reach an apogee of approximately 20,200 kilometers above Earth. Inside of that structure that you see right there in front of you on your screen is the GPS-3 satellite, and that structure is what we call the payload fairing, which is about 17 feet in diameter or 5 meters in diameter and about 43 feet or 13 meters tall. This payload fairing protects the satellite from aerodynamic heating, loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we're in the vacuum of space, we no longer need this protection, so we will jettison the fairing halves as the second stage continues with the satellite to its targeted drop-off orbit. The fairing halves that we are using today are new, and we'll be attempting to recover them using our recovery ships that you see on your screen, Mistreat and Mischief. And now, because weather plays a major role in the recovery efforts, about 2 minutes before the fairing halves are set to land, the team will check in to see if it is safe to make a catch attempt. And this is because weather can impact the sea states for Mistreat and Mischief, but it can also affect the fairing's altitude, position, and speed, which could change how the fairing halves fall back to Earth. Now, that large trusted structure next to Falcon 9, and on your screen it's to the left of Falcon 9 there, that is what we call the Transporter Erector, or TE. The TE is used to roll out Falcon 9 to the launch pad, and it raises it to the vertical launch position and also routes power, fluids, and communication to both the rocket and the satellite. Now let's get a status update on the vehicle.
Good evening from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I'm John Itzberger, Falcon 9 Principal Integration Engineer. Now, the launch vehicle and satellite vehicle teams are ready for launch as we approach the T-minus 9-minute mark to liftoff. Now, this is our third GPS-3 launch, and all three have been from Space Launch Complex 40. Now, the spacecraft team performed their functional checkouts of the GPS satellite earlier today, and the Falcon 9 team began their final checks at T-minus 2 hours. Most recently, we completed the poll to proceed with propellant load and launch. This was at T-minus 38 minutes, and all parties were go. So the team at Cape Canaveral began loading propellant at T-minus 35 minutes. We used the same propellants on both the first and second stages. The second stage is primarily a short version of a first stage. That's one of the many reliability features in the Falcon design. Our fuel is a refined form of kerosene known as RP1. Our oxidizer is super chilled liquid oxygen called LOX. We chill it well below the boiling point so we can load more onto the booster, as well as avoid the need to continue topping it off to make up for losses due to propellant boil-off. Now, currently, the second stage that you can see on the screen just above that black interstage cylinder, that second stage is fully loaded with the RP1 kerosene fuel. The first stage is going to continue loading kerosene fuel until T-minus 6 minutes. Liquid oxygen is loading onto both the first and second stages right now. We're also loading helium into storage vessels on the first and second stages. We take this cold helium and run it through heat exchangers on the Merlin engines. That heats the helium up, and that hot helium is used to fill the empty volume in the tanks created when the engine pumps are pulling propellant out of the stage. By heating the helium, it expands the volume that it occupies, and that increases its efficiency. Now, at 7 minutes, we're going to open the pre-valves between the first stage engines and the propellant tanks. We'll begin the engine chill-in sequence. This is where we cool the turbo pumps to avoid thermal shocks when we start the pumps at T-minus 2 seconds to light the Merlin engines. And we're inside
Engine
7
chill
minutes.
has begun.
And we've heard the call that engine chill has begun right on time. On the GPS spacecraft, the team has transitioned the GPS spacecraft to internal battery power. That finished at about T-minus 13 and a half minutes. That is their last major activity that's required before launch. On the range, the eastern range is ready to support. They are green and go. And the good news on the weather, while we've been dodging thick clouds that may have forced a launch scrub, for the moment the weather officer believes that the cloud layers are thin enough and may just get past us that we aren't going to have an issue. We'll continue to listen, but 6 minutes and 19 seconds to go, we should be able to get there. Now, if we do have to call a hold on today's launch, we have a backup opportunity tomorrow. Liftoff would be a few minutes earlier at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time. But right now, all systems continue to be go for a liftoff just past 43 minutes after the hour.
As we mentioned earlier, today's mission is for the U.S. Space Force launching the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 4 payload. Now we'll hear from the Air Force's Lieutenant Colonel Margaret Sullivan and Lockheed Martin's Tanya Ladwig for more information on tonight's payload.
We use GPS every day.
Today, everyone has GPS technology in their pocket.
It's 25 years of space-based position, navigation, and timing, supporting the entire world.
GPS touches the lives of everyday people all the time. It's changed the way we work, it's changed the way we play with over 4 billion users worldwide. We're already preparing for the next generation of GPS satellites with our GPS-3 follow-on contract, and we're inserting greater technology for greater capability.
The brand new United States Space Force owns this premier asset and provides this position, navigation, and timing service to everyone.
We're just over 4 minutes from liftoff. Everything continues to be go for launch. Right now, the clamp arms around the second stage are opening. We are about to retract the strongback away from the Falcon 9. We're going to move it about 2 degrees away. You can see on the monitor, the arms are open. We've pressurized the stages as part of that. And right now, we are moving away, like I said, about 2 degrees away. At liftoff, hydraulics will then pull the strongback to a position that's 45 degrees away from the rocket to make sure we're clear for liftoff. Now, first stage fuel loading did complete on time at T-minus 6 minutes. We're waiting to hear first stage LOX load complete at T-minus 3, and then a minute later, LOX loading on second stage. Strongback lower has been announced closeout for flight, so the strongback is in position, ready to support launch. At 1 minute before liftoff, you're going to hear the announcement, Falcon 9 is in startup. That means the rocket's own internal computers are autonomously controlling the Falcon 9 countdown. Coming up on 3 minutes, waiting to hear how LOX loading is going.
Stage 1, LOX load is closed out.
And we've got closeout of the first stage LOX load. Now, on top of the Falcon 9, the GPS-3 space vehicle continues to be go. They have done their last activity, getting on internal power. They're waiting for liftoff now. Good news, Falcon 9 team, GPS team, we're working no issues on the rocket, and the weather continues to be green and good for launch. That call out you just heard, M1D engines are fully chilled in for flight. That means when we get spinning the turbo pumps at T-minus 2 seconds, the temperatures are cold enough so that we won't turn any of that liquid oxygen into gaseous oxygen, which would be bad to pull through the pumps. Now, as a reminder, as we come up on 2 minutes, if we don't launch today, we have a backup opportunity tomorrow. Liftoff time would be scheduled at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time.
Stage 2, LOX load closed out.
We're inside 2 minutes, closing out liquid oxygen on the second stage. We're now going to begin draining the liquid oxygen down the strongback, away from the second stage, back down through the lines, making sure that everything is clear out of that strongback for liftoff. And that's what's going to be creating the white clouds that you can see around the rocket right now coming off of the strongback as we vent the gaseous oxygen that's very cold, and it meets the warm, humid Florida air, and you get the big white clouds of condensation. That's normal for us. Next major activity again at T-minus 1 minute will be in startup. First and second stages will also begin to pressurize for launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There's a call out. We've gone into startup. Next up, SpaceX launch director gives the final go for launch.
This is the mission director. Go for launch.
We're coming up at T-minus 30 seconds. Everything looking good. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 with the GPS-3 space vehicle number 4.
Stage 1, flight press.
15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and we have an abort. All agencies stand by.
As you can see right now, it's T-minus 2 seconds. We did not get to T-minus 0. We heard the call out of an abort. They're currently safing the vehicle. We're going to be listening to hear if we can get some more information. John Innsbrucker back again. You can see the clock is reset to T-minus 15. That doesn't mean that we are going to attempt another launch. We are going to scrub for tonight because we'll be out of the window. However, that's where the clock resets to as they begin safing the vehicle. Right now, the team is busy making sure that the automated sequences to safe the launch vehicle are underway. We did not get down to T0. We did not try to launch. We had the abort, as you saw on the screen, at about T-minus 2 seconds, which is just the start as we get into the engine ignition sequence. Now for Falcon 9, lighting rocket engines and then shutting them down is fairly normal. We do this in Texas when we test the stages. We also do this when we static fire the Falcon 9 on the launch pad, as we did with this rocket several days ago. So going through the sequence to safe the vehicle is fairly standard for the launch team. We're hoping that we may get an announcement from the launch director a little bit later over the countdown net. John Innsbrucker again back here at the webcast desk in SpaceX headquarters, Hawthorne, California. If you're just joining us, you can see T-minus 15 minutes.
The mission director is clear to scrub following today's abort. Stand by for discussion on recycle.
We've just heard the SpaceX launch director on the countdown net announce what we talked about earlier. We have a scrub for the evening. If you are with us, we got down to about T-minus 2 seconds approximately. We haven't seen the actual shutdown time. We were just starting the engine ignition sequence when we had a hold. We then began safing. We did not get into lighting all 9 of the Merlin rocket engines. Right now we're waiting to hear if there's anybody else coming up on the countdown net, but it doesn't appear so. So we did we did hold the countdown at about T-minus 2 seconds. Because our window only lasted 15 minutes tonight and we don't know how to quickly solve the issue and try to recycle the launch, plus we had already loaded propellant and we can't hold once we do that, we are scrubbed for the night, as you heard just a moment ago from the SpaceX launch director on the countdown net. We're going to hold on for just a little bit more, see if we can bring you any other information. Right now we're still waiting to find out whether it was a ground or a flight vehicle issue that caused us to hold the countdown and scrub for the night. John Innsbrucker with you again from the webcast desk here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Well, we dodged the weather tonight. We got down to almost T0, but we held at approximately T-minus 2 seconds as we were getting ready to ignite the 9 Merlin 1D engines that would then take us to liftoff and out into space. We are in a safing process right now, fairly standard for the Falcon 9. We've run this on the vehicle many times, those who have maybe seen static fires with us before. The vehicle is safe. Team is working through to make sure that they get all the steps complete. We did hear from the launch director, just reiterating that because of the hold at T-minus 2 seconds, we and the Space Force mission director have gone ahead and scrubbed the launch for the evening. Now, right now, the vehicle is being safed. Doesn't appear to be any issues on the launch pad, but that does end our launch opportunity for tonight. Now, our next launch opportunity is Saturday, tomorrow, at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, we're not sure yet if we're going to recycle and try to launch in about 24 hours. The team's going to have to work through the issues, figure out whether or not we have to go inspect anything on the launch pad, how quickly we can do that. But we still have the possibility that we'll be protecting of trying to be able to go 24 hours from now. So whenever we do get another chance to launch Falcon 9 with GPS-3 Satellite Vehicle 4, hopefully you'll join us again at that next attempt. But until then, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.